Howdy folks, and welcome to the longer of my two videos for the week. What I'm going to do with this one, I will start off giving a bit of a summary on how my DDP yoga is going as always. And in honour of the fact that today is the first day of my parents starting their DDP yoga journey, I'm going to do some tips for beginners. Now I know I did a written blog which was tips for beginners, and yeah, there's going to be some overlap, sorry guys. But there is going to be some new stuff on there. I'll talk a little bit more in detail. So stick around and watch it. You know, you could find it completely useless, you could learn something. Maybe you find something you think I'm wrong about and you want to leave a comment. So first of all, how did my week go as far as DDP yoga is concerned? Well, it went extremely well. I managed to get myself back into doing the 2 workouts a day. Or the 3 if you count Red Hocko, I guess. I know I mentioned in the chat room a little bit, I've been having a little bit of trouble with my left leg. The tendons between my quad and my glute have been playing up a little bit. That's getting a lot better, so I'm quite happy with how that's going, getting a bit more flexibility back into it. And actually, anyone watching the video who has some advice on this or wants to leave a comment, I'm really trying to get my heart rate up in Strength Builder at the moment. I'm averaging about a 125 heart rate. I'd prefer it to be about 10-15 beats higher. Now, yeah, I know engage your muscles more, etc. But if anyone has any specific advice on Strength Builder, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear someone's advice on that. So, tips for beginners, and you're going to see me looking at my monitor as usual, guys, because I'm working off bullet points. Sorry, very unprofessional, I know, but I don't have an auto cue yet. No one's bought me an auto cue. So, without further ado, and I'm going to do like a top 5 like I always do, but I'm going to start off with a few sort of quick general tips. And these are quite useful for people starting. They're based obviously off the fact that I was a really heavy dude, like a 375 pounder when I started. So without further ado, first tip, I know Dallas says this one a lot, when you're doing timed exercises, the push-ups, the rows, etc. Count out loud for yourself. 2 reasons. 1, raises your heart rate, which is obviously beneficial. That's kind of what you're there for. 2, Dallas has ADD. Dallas is quite happy to talk about the fact that he has ADD, which means occasionally when Dallas is in the middle of a count, he's going to get distracted and start talking to someone about their form, etc. A great example of this is one of either the 2nd or 3rd push-up, I think, in Fat Burner, where he literally goes, 1, 2, starts talking for about 3-4 seconds, then says 3. That's a 5-second push-up, guys. Seriously, time it. It's a 5-second push-up. So count for yourself out loud. And honestly, if you can hold the push-up for longer, then hold the push-up for longer. Who cares? But when you're starting out, definitely count for yourself and go by your own count. So long as it's kind of similar to your other 3-2-1 counts when Dallas doesn't wander off and go off on one, it's going to be absolutely fine. Second tip, this one getting a bit less important as we're coming into winter here, but keep your hands dry. Now, I was doing this for ages, wiping off my mat, having trouble balancing after a certain point in the workout. 3-legged dog in particular, actually. 3-legged dog, my hands just started sliding straight forwards, which is probably a recipe for disaster. Dry off your hands sweat just the same as the rest of your body. Taking all the liquid off the mat isn't going to help you when your hands are wet. Sounds really obvious. I didn't figure out what I was doing wrong for a couple of weeks. That could just be me. I could have been having a really stupid moment. But yeah, keep your hands dry when you're working out. Third one. And this one I think originally came into the written blog because someone asked about it, but I feel it's important enough to throw it anyway. Calorie counting, as far as your food's concerned, as far as weight loss is concerned. Don't. And I know some people completely disagree with me on this. Now, there is a basis for using calories if you want to use them. Effectively, the weight you want to be in pounds, multiplied by 10 is about the calories you should be having, roughly. But honestly, if you're doing the food plan in the DDP yoga book, especially. I know other people do different diets. I can't comment on those. I don't do them. There's no need to calorie count. Now, the thing about not doing the calorie counting is that if you look compared to the weight loss that your doctor's probably telling you should have, like 1 or 2 pounds a week, you're probably going to lose a lot more weight than that, especially if you are starting off at 375 pounds or whatever. Now, here's a really arrogant moment for you. The reason your doctor is telling you to lose 1 or 2 pounds a week is because there is research out there that says that losing 1 or 2 pounds a week will ultimately make sure you keep the weight off. I've read that research, guys. That research is correlative, it's not causative. Which means effectively, yes, that's true with the majority of people who lose weight, but there's no medical reason that you can only lose 1 or 2 pounds a week. It's just that the people who do have kept it off longer historically. Now, that doesn't have to have any effect on you whatsoever. So I personally say don't calorie count. It's way easier if you don't, and I find it a lot more likely that you're going to stick to something that isn't as complicated as having to, read how many calories are in everything you eat and do the math all the time. Could just be me, but it works well for me. So, on to my main 5 new tips for beginners. The first one, heart rate monitor. First of all, if you haven't got one, go get one. They are really, really cheap. I couldn't say for like Amazon.com, but Amazon.co.uk certainly has them extremely cheap at the moment. At about £20 sterling, which about $30 I think. And they are so beneficial to have for your workout. They'll let you know when you're working too hard, more importantly. It's not so much when you're not working hard enough, although it is quite helpful as far as engagement's concerned. But it's about letting you know when you're working too hard. And eventually you'll be able to feel when your heart rate's gone higher than you probably want it. But until then, it is great to have that guide. Now, kind of the flip side of that, don't check your heart rate every few seconds. There are some moves in there, even in the first few workouts, that just aren't going to get your heart rate up, even if you're engaged. Huddle up. Huddle up is not going to raise your heart rate. Your heart rate will be on the rise, as Dallas does say in Energy, when you get to that point because of all the engagement you've done, but sitting in huddle up is not going to keep your heart rate up. So there's no point to checking your heart rate for any length of time when you're there. The way I've actually found best to do the heart rate is to look at your average heart rate. Now, I got the heart rate monitor from the DDPYoga website, so I'm just going to show you guys very quickly, if the camera will let me, how you actually set this thing to look at an average. So, yeah, that's focused. Okay, so you have the little mode button here on the left as you look at the watch. And if you push the button, you'll get it to where the heart rate would normally be. You'll then get it to maximum, and you'll then get it to average. And the button on the other side, which I think is set, yeah, if you press set, you'll actually clear off the average. It will then start taking the average again, which you can then do for the workout. I find looking at my average heart rate is way better than looking at my heart rate, dozens of times during the workout. Now, check it occasionally. If you've just done something that felt particularly hard, you just did a 5-second push-up in the middle of diamond cutter or whatever, check your heart rate to make sure you're not going over the top. But other than that, use the average. It's way better. Moving on. So, muscle engagement. And I think, again, this came into the written blog because a few people asked me questions on this. I find that the way to deal with this is to look at your arms and your legs separately. And I'm going to give some advice that I gave to my fair lady Susan recently, which is looking at arm engagement. So we were looking at the engagement on Susan's bicep compared to the engagement on her forearm. And what I found she was doing was, say she was doing showstopper. She'd be moving her arm up like this, and then doing that. Now you can see you can just about see, my hand isn't particularly clenched there, so the bicep's getting the engagement, but really my forearm isn't particularly. I clench my fist, engagement's absolutely better. You can even see it looking at the arm there. Now, the reason I show that is very simple. A, it's a nice bit of advice on doing showstopper. B, you can see engagement in your muscles when you're doing it. If you're worried about not doing it right, and I know a lot of people are, and it really is quite difficult to feel if your forearm's engaged particularly well. You will notice in 2 or 3 weeks' time when your biceps are getting stronger and your forearm isn't. So yeah, look for visual clues of whether or not you're engaging right. Another great clue for the forearm, actually, when you're doing DR rows, that kind of thing, if I can get the camera at a good angle, make sure your wrist is at the right angle to your forearm, and make sure your shoulder is at the right angle to your body. If you just pull in, even lightly engaged, and you don't have your shoulder where it should be, you're putting all of the work onto the wrong part of your body. And that can happen a lot with the engagement stuff. Now, arms are slightly easier to do for this because you can see them better, and it's just a case of repositioning relative to your shoulder, usually if you're having trouble engaging. Legs are a bit trickier, more difficult to look at when you're working out, although wear shorts makes it much easier to see if the muscles are engaging in your legs. And they're generally difficult because they're working on balance a lot more, especially in our old favourite, the lunge. What I would say to do with the lunge if you're having trouble engaging, first of all, great advice that Heidi gave me from Team DDPYoga. If you're having trouble balancing and engaging, step your back foot in half a step, step your back foot out half a step. Widen your base, get the leg further in, you will be able to engage more in lunges. Works like an absolute charm. I've been doing it for weeks now. But if you're having trouble with actually getting started and engaging as far as lunges are concerned, the way to do it is to put both your feet flat in a wide stance. Lift your back leg up so that you're on the balls of the foot, and then try and push back, almost as though you're about to start running a race. You'll feel all of the muscles in the back leg engage when you do that. Now, you might actually want to just leave the back leg engaged to start off with and try and focus on balancing on the front leg. I did that for a little while. Again, maybe that's a thing when you're 375 pounds, but that worked so much better. And there's a truck going past that you're probably picking up microphone. That's annoying. And it's gone. Okay. So yeah, when it comes to then engaging the front leg in a lunge, there are 2 ways of doing it. The first one, just sink a bit deeper into the lunge, move the leg out a bit further forward while keeping the back leg where it is. Or, and this is kind of an either or actually, because you should really be doing both, try and squeeze your legs together. Now, I know when that concept was first mentioned, when I first watched the Diamond Dozen, I had no idea really what that was talking about or how that would feel. If you're looking to do that engagement, that's something I find comes to you a lot better once you've started doing some of the other workouts. Once you've started doing something like below the belt, I don't know why, it just seems easier to get the concept of engaging your legs. Maybe it's just that the muscles in your legs are more developed and you can feel what they're doing more. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend for that. Try and squeeze them together. It will engage both muscles. And honestly, what I would say on engaging leg muscles as well, it doesn't matter to start off with. In fact, to start off with, the first few workouts you do, you shouldn't be focused on engaging at all. Until you've gotten used to what the moves are in the workout, don't focus on trying to engage and trying to get your heart rate up. It's not going to work. That's why, I've been doing Strength Builder for like 3 weeks now, and I do it twice a week. I've only just started getting concerned about the fact that my heart rate isn't going up. Because now I know the moves, and now my heart rate is the thing I want to focus on. To start off with, learn the moves. You're not going to be able to engage muscles if you don't know where they're going next. It's just silly. So, moving on. The next bit of advice, everyone's favourite, the push-up. I'm going to talk about this as a concept in one of my later points, but really the first thing I would say for a push-up, especially for you ladies out there, you can do a push-up better than you think you can. I know this because almost everyone I've talked to can do a push-up better than they think they can. That part where you go down that last few inches on a push-up, where you get your nose right next to the ground, that's mostly mental. to be honest with you guys. If your arms are supporting you at the the other stages of a push-up, they can probably support you in that point as well. You just have to kind of try it. And if the absolute worst happens and your arms don't support you, you're going to fall about 2 inches to the floor. Just make sure you try and avoid hitting your nose and you'll be fine. But other than the mental side of things, the actual practical things you can do with push-ups. The first one, and Dallas mentions this on the videos, but obviously he doesn't really have time to describe it in any detail. Your body works like a tripod when it's in a push-up position. The funny thing is your body's actually built on tripods. I'll give you a little bit of boring science here for a second. Your feet, separately, both work like tripods. When you balance on your feet, you tend to balance on the back and 2 points on the front. Everyone does, unless you're flat-footed, obviously. But that's how everyone's feet works. Then obviously, you add the other foot, 2 tripods. One of the strongest structures in nature, really. And really, the way I find to look at a push-up is you're replicating the way one of your feet works. You're trying to set yourself up like a tripod. Now, the great thing once you start thinking about it like that is if you're having trouble with a particular part of your body, or if you're having trouble, say Fat Burner has a lot of push-ups. If you're finding your arms are too tired to do one of the last push-ups, but you don't necessarily want to go down on your knees, I've been there, guys, I'm as stubborn as that as well. What you can do is you can lever some of the weight onto your feet and off your arms. And the way to do that is to treat your body like it's a tripod. Effectively, push back, put more of the weight onto the back where your feet are. Make sure your legs are engaged when you do it. Your legs will engage more, and the weight will feel lighter on your arms. You can do exactly the same thing the other way. The advice I gave on the written blog about this, and the advice I'm going to give now, because I got some great feedback on it, practice this in plank. Stay in plank, but try and shift your weight around your body while you do it. It's a skill. It's like anything else. You're going to learn it the more often you do it. Once you get it down, it is absolutely the best way to make sure you can get all of the push-ups in a workout. I mean, I'm not quite there yet. I can't do the 10-second one in Diamond Cutter, and I usually do the second 5-second one in Diamond Cutter on my knees. But those are the only 2 in my current workout schedule that I'm modifying. And to be honest with you, I'm hoping not to have to modify that second 5-second one very shortly. So, next piece of advice. And this is a kind of very generic piece of advice compared to the last couple, which have been oddly specific. Learn the difference between discomfort in a position and pain in a position. And if you haven't worked out a lot before when you start doing DDP yoga, you're not necessarily going to have a sense for this. So I'll give you a personal example where I'm at now. When I'm doing hip stretches, especially can opener from the Strength Builder workout, that puts a lot of pressure on your hip, obviously. Now, the pressure is totally fine. If I put my forearms on the floor while I'm doing it, I feel discomfort. Discomfort is fine. If I try and reach forward from just having my forearms on the ground, it starts to hurt, which is the point at which I stop. Now, why is that important? That's important because you want to be getting into positions that feel uncomfortable, because you're not going to ever increase in flexibility if you are terrified of the concept that something is going to feel remotely uncomfortable when you are doing the workout. Now, pain, there is no point to doing pain. The one thing that doesn't come up anywhere in DDP yoga, and God knows I love it for it, is no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain is absolute nonsense. It just isn't true. No discomfort, no gain, yeah, that's true. Especially on the flexibility side of things. Sorry guys, occasionally you're going to have to be uncomfortable when you work out. But learn the difference. And the way I would say to do that is, how can I describe this? If what you're feeling is a sharp pain, like something's about to break if you go further, then yeah, too far for your current level of flexibility. If you think you can go a little bit further, if something is uncomfortable, but you think you can go a little further before it starts hurting, that's the point where you want to push a bit. but learn to recognize the difference. It's important for progress that you know the difference one way and the difference the other. And my last point, as this is becoming an entirely overly long vlog, when you're trying a new workout for the first time, and I've had so many people do this recently, September, I'm going to pick on you, because now I get to tell the world that you managed your diamond cutter successfully, and you did a really good job on it, but sorry, now I got to pick on you. If you're going to do a workout first, watch it. Everyone should watch it first. You've got to. You're not going to know the moves otherwise. I mean, I suppose you couldn't, but it's just going to be comedy watching you try and do it for the first time. Once you've watched it, try it. And what I mean by that is, diamond cutter is a great example of this, because diamond cutter is the first workout you'll come to that contains side planks. Side planks, especially if you're a kind of heavier person, look like something which you're not going to be able to do. The reason being, looking at other people do something like that isn't necessarily beneficial to seeing how easy or hard it is. So here's what I would say. Look at it and then try it. Even if you want to try, even if there's a specific thing like side plank that you think, I'm not going to be able to do this, try it before you do the workout. Just the next time you do, if you're doing a lighter workout first, next time you do your energy workout, try doing a side plank afterwards. See what happens. You will surprise yourself. And just so I don't entirely pick on September for this, I was just as guilty of this with seated bat, with jackknife from Red Hot Core. I probably did it with the side planks as well. I definitely did it with side plank 4, with the lifting the foot off thing. Now, if you try it and you can't do it, that's fine, modify it. But seriously, try things first. Getting into the mindset of looking at a video and going, oh, I don't think I can do that, it's not beneficial to you in any way. Try the new things on a workout before you decide, even before you decide you're going to modify them. Try it. Don't look at something and decide whether or not you can do it from whether or not it looks like it's something you can do. You're wrong. Most of us are horrible judges about our own abilities. Just try anything that comes up like that. Can opener is another great example for myself. Just so I'm not picking on September. Sorry, darling. Can opener looked like something that was really going to overly stretch my hips. As it turns out, I actually find it quite pleasant. But yeah. I can't really say have confidence in your own abilities, because it's never going to quite work that way. Have confidence to try the things that are up there. Dallas knew what he was doing when he put the order on these workouts that he put on them. So try new stuff when it comes up in the workouts. Now, this video has gone on for entirely overly too long. Those are my tips for people just starting out. Hopefully you don't think I'm absolutely full of crap. If you do, feel free to leave a comment. I will talk about any of the things I put on here. Right now though, guys, I gotta go and hit my energy Red Hot Core, so I'm out. Peace.